What's up, y'all? We back with another episode of Point Forward Podcast with myself, Iguodala, and my main man, Evan Turner. Yo, we got a very special guest near and dear to both of us. Y'all welcome my man, Draymond Green, 3-time NBA champ, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, 4-time All-Star 2017 Defensive Player of the Year, 4-time All-Defensive First Team. Michigan State just retired his jersey. The number 23 after he was consistent's first team All-American, Big Ten Player of the Year, that's big, and NABC Player of the Year in 2012. Those are just his on-court accomplishments to date. More to come. Off the court business and activities thus far, TNT, Turner Sports, Draymond has a business deal with. That's amazing. One of a kind, first of its kind we'll dig into. He has the Draymond Green Show, which is the podcast we'll get more into. Uninterrupted, Throwing Bones, which we'll get into, Blink Fitness investment, Smile Direct Club investment, and 100K Ventures, which we'll dig into, hopefully, going back with Flint, Michigan, and the endeavors he has going on there. So, Draymond, welcome to the show.
That Wikipedia looking right.
My brother. Hey, man, I appreciate it, man. I was sitting there listening to this resume like, man, my college resume still don't touch ET resume. And I'm pissed off about it.
Not even.
God.
You got the Final Fours and everything, man. You did your thing. So
and I was on the bench in the Final Fours, man. I ain't played that first Final Four. I was riding the pine.
Hey, you missed out on one hell of a beating then. I was not playing with y'all. I was like,
hey, it was bad.
I'm like, dang, people watching this?
Hey. It was bad. They was a pro team, man. We ain't have a chance. That team had Tyler Hansbrough, Danny Green, Wayne Ellington, Ty Lawson, Ed Davis, Tyler Zeller. We didn't stand a chance, bro.
Yeah, and then, Ty Lawson, to say the least, his speed, his tempo. Kalen Lucas, and y'all had fast guards and everything like that, but Ty Lawson's speed, the way he could push the tempo was just, I don't even think the TV was catching up with him most of the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was insane. Kalen Lucas was really fast, but I don't think anybody was as fast as Ty Lawson. Dre fucking played with him,
Yeah, he was NBA fast, so I was like, whoa, he was different in college. So, yeah, Ty, my man, shout out to Ty. I'm looking for him. I got an ass whooping waiting on him, just so in case he's listening, I'm on his ass. But to kind of pop things off, Draymond, I told you we're gonna make a movie with you in terms of like through audio, and Evan has a Jadakiss line he likes to use. It's just the audio of the shit that we go through, and there's something. We found two pillars. I'm gonna touch on one, Evan's gonna touch on the other, and it's gonna take us everywhere we need to go, especially with you. And the first pillar I want to talk about is this winning trait that you have. And I want to go all the way back to there's this book called The Body Keeps the Score. My wife keeps telling me to read. I'm gonna read it one day, but it talks about how all our traumas, like not bad traumas, but good traumas as well, how it shapes us and who we become, and why our brains work the way they work. I want to go all the way back to your earliest memory of winning and kind of tell that story of where did that come from? Because we talk about basketball, it's like a guy could shoot at a young age, a guy had crazy handles at a young age, a guy was just a natural scorer, or a guy could play defense, was strong, but that winning thing set you apart even at the highest level. Walk me back through, you were I'm just gonna figure out a way to win, and when were you aware of that's who you were?
Number one, thank you. When I became aware of okay, this is who I have to be. Honestly, when I really became aware of it was at Michigan State. Now, growing up as a kid, elementary school, I never won a championship in elementary school. We won in third. We had fourth and fifth grade. The way our thing worked is you had third and fourth grade team and fourth and fifth grade. And when I was in the third grade, I played on third and fourth grade team, but for the playoffs, I moved up. And my brother and them, my brother's 2 years older than me, we won a city championship that year, but I didn't touch the floor. I never played. And then after that, I never won one in another one in elementary. And then I didn't win again until my 8th grade year. fast forward to high school, I won 2 state championships. But even then, it's just like, I want to win so I could talk shit around the city. Like, we got Arthur Hill. I don't know if I know ET, remember Dar Tucker.
Yeah.
Dar Tucker went to Arthur Hill.
Tucker, yeah.
Absolutely. He went to Arthur Hill, and that's our crosstown rival. And the year before I won my first state championship, they won. And so at that point, I'm just like, I just need to win so I can talk shit to these people because they beat us on some fluke stuff. Yeah. Like, I need to win for that. Now, when I got to Michigan State, Coach Izzo's thing with me from the very beginning was like, Draymond.
Wait, hold on. How do you get to Michigan State? Because you don't just get to Michigan State. Like, now you ain't giving yourself enough credit. Like, you gotta have something. You got something in you. You know what I'm saying?
Well, for sure. And I think that also dates back to like me. Like, I grew up at Civitan Recreation Center, bro. I grew up playing against grown men. Number one, I had no chance to get on the floor. But if I ever made it on the floor, if I lost a game, I could never get back on. And so, you know, for me as a kid, it's like, I need to do everything I can to stay on this floor because if I lose, they're never going to let me back on the court. And so from that point on, it's like, all right, I'm learning how to win. You know what I'm saying? I'm learning what I need to do in order to manipulate this game. Now, for me at that point, it may be shooting, it may be passing, it may be defense, it may be whatever. But I'm going to do whatever I have to do to win this game because I don't want to get back off the court. And I think for me, that's where it started at. You know, like, all right. And then I go to high school and same thing. We have open gyms. It's so many guys there. You lose, you don't get back on the court as a young guy. Once I'm an older guy, you know, and I'm solidified, it's different. But as a young guy, I couldn't get back on the floor. So again, I have to win these games in order to stay on the floor. And I think for me, that's kind of where I learned how to win. But I was always a sore loser, so I had to win in order to keep my attitude from blowing up in everybody's face.
Yeah, but there's something that you said that I don't think, like what Dre said, you don't give yourself enough credit for. A lot of people start new levels or they've learned how to win or reach a new mountaintop, and they start to believe that I'm too good to, you know, sit out. Every year or every position in your career, when you start a new level, you see it takes you somewhat of a year to get your foot, you know, your feet into the ground and able to earn your right. So when it comes down to it, I think we have to give you more credit for being able to lock in and work and have that faith. I saw an interview that said that if you don't believe you're the best to ever do it, you're not thinking the right way.
Yep.
Is that
sure.
Yeah. So is that something you always had, like that you never quite the worry when you're at Michigan State? You're saying like your first year, you didn't play in a Final Four, where you're like, you know what, I know for sure I'm gonna get here and leave my mark and my imprint here.
No, for sure. I think for me, so growing up as a kid, my mom was always like, anything I did, it was always like, yo, you be a leader. Like, stop being a follower. I get in trouble in school. Wow, you being a follower. Like, and she would always challenge me in that way, like no matter what. And when I look back on my life now, I question, like, is that the reason I became, or is that a large part of the reason I became who I've become? Now, and speaking of Michigan State, I went to Michigan State because, and this is my brother, like at Michigan State, we all tight, like it's a brotherhood. So I don't think like that today. But I went to Michigan State because everybody said that I was stupid because Delvon Rowe, who played the same position with me, was a top 5 recruit. He was going there too. And so I committed after him. Like, and for me, I'm like, oh, y'all don't think I can play here and y'all think he better than me. Yeah. I personally think I'm much better than him. Every time I play him at AAU, I've destroyed him. Like, and y'all think this guy better than me. Somewhere in my sick mind, a part of the reason I wanted to go there was to prove to everybody that I was going to take his spot and that I was going to be better than him.
Yeah, but you sent them an act.
Facts. And then to add on to that, when we get to Michigan State freshman year, we had this Spartan initiation stuff, all these things we had to do. Corey Lucius and Delvon Rowe was hurt, so all the freshman Spartan initiation I had to do by myself. And he used to sit on the sideline and talk shit to me and laugh at me. And so that also fucked with my mind there as well, because now I'm like, all right, I really got to destroy dude now. Yeah. But fast forwarding to the statement that I made, I feel like I've always lived by that. As both of you guys know, regardless of what level you make it to, you all like there's always going to be some doubt, self-doubt at some point in time in that. And but I always believe like, no, I'm better than them. Like I can play at this level. I can do these things. And I never understood, and people like call me crazy, like, oh, he talking shit, or, you know, he just talk. And the reality is like, yeah, I do talk shit, but like 99.9% of the stuff I say, I really believe. You know, like you make it that 0.1. And so for me, it's like, no, I actually believe that, like, you have to believe that you're the best. Like, it baffles me when I say, yo, I'm the best defensive player all the time. People go crazy about that. Like, are you fucking idiots? Y'all don't believe y'all the best at what you do? So I just never understood that mindset of not thinking you're the best.
That's real. And it makes sense. Which leads next to, like, like you said, you always been outspoken in that sense. I remember back at Ohio State, even your freshman year when you weren't playing as much, I remember always noticing your presence or even being on the court and hearing your voice. And it's like, bro, who is this guy talking so crazy? Or like, he weak, you're weak. It's like, bro, you like 10 months off from playing. Like, get that body in shape first, baby, and then come back and holler, I'm going to be over here, you know? But one thing I always knew, and when I looked at that team, I always recognized who the leader was from day one because of the presence. And I remember hearing Izzo and the reports and everything. They're like, Draymond is going to speak his mind and say what he has to say and really set that standard. So I remember from a distance just seeing that foreshadowing and seeing a star, at least seeing something special. But talk about, once again, your outspokenness. Did it come from your mom saying being a leader, or did it just come from you kind of self-advertising and be like, hey, y'all not paying attention to me enough? Like, I'm a winner. I done proved this and I've done this over and over. Like,
I think it's a mixture of things. Number one, growing up in Saginaw, you got to be able to talk. You step on the floor, like you got to talk shit if you play in Saginaw, or else you look like the weak dude that won't say nothing, or you either super duper nice and you don't have to talk because you that nice. Yeah. Well, for me, I grew up playing against the old heads, so I wasn't that nice to where I'm outplaying them, and they talking crazy to me. So you either sink or you swim. Well, if they talk crazy to me and I'm not nice enough to really keep up with them, then I just look like the weak motherfucker on the court. Like why is he even out here? And they just going to run all over me. I'm not good enough. I'm not strong enough. But at least if I talk to y'all crazy, you know, like, well, I mean, regardless of what may happen on this court, he going to say something to me that's going to have me second guessing myself, because that's just how I always went at people. And it wasn't like, I don't wear no glove. Like, I'm coming in that thing raw, and I ain't wearing no gloves. Like, gloves are off if I'm coming back at y'all. So I may say something wild to these OGs, and that's just how it was. You fast forward to the way my mom raised me, or raised us. There was no adult that we couldn't say anything back to. Now, we're not going to disrespectfully talk back to any adults. My mom ain't rolling like that. But if you have an opinion, you speak your opinion. Like, I'll be ready to, you know, my mom will go at me about something. I'll be ready to say something back. Like, never mind. And she will sit you there like, no, you're going to say whatever it was that you were going to say. She will sit you there until you say what you're going to say. It could have been me saying, man, that don't make sense. She's going to sit me there until I say, that didn't make sense to me. And I think for her, she always encouraged us talking no matter what, no matter who it is. Now, for me, I had to find a balance in that, because I would talk to coaches like, nah, like, you know, everybody don't view things the way she viewed it. Like, no, you speak up and that's fine. And so I'd say stuff to coaches and they like, well, why are you talking back? Or why you feel the need to talk right now? And it's like, oh, no, I mean, I'm just sharing with you what I thought or what I think. Yeah. But I had to also learn, and to be honest with you, I feel like I just now learned this year of like, a coach say something, just shut up, do that. Then if it doesn't work, then come back and say what you have to say. And that's kind of the approach I take now. But for the longest time, I'm going to know if you say something and I disagree with that, as opposed to me not letting your thing work, I'm going to just tell you right then and there, like, yo, that's not going to work. And so I've had to learn how to channel it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think we just, you know, encompassed our two pillars, right? Like, you know, like the essence of who you are. Now, we're in the league, right? Like, you told your story about where you come from in college. You know how it is being a rookie. All of us know, like, it's always that doubt there. But then at some point, it's like, man, these dudes really, I'm on their level. And then I think for all three of us, which is crazy, it's the point for a podcast. I'm so sorry. I didn't even bring that up. Like, it's a triple entendre speaking right now. We got 3 point forwards. So we all have the same mindset. But when did it click for you? Like, your brain works different? Because I didn't know, maybe it was my rookie year when I was doing the shell drill. And I saw that we had 10-year vets that couldn't get the shell drill right. And I'm like, wait, what? Y'all don't know how to do this? when did it click for you? Like, oh, I'm gonna be here a long time because my brain works different than these dudes.
Honestly, Dre, when I first started doing the shell drill, with I'll never forget, Darren Ehrman had us in there as soon as we got drafted doing shell drill and stuff. When I first started doing shell drill, I thought I picked it up so fast because I had great coaches. Like, since I was a kid, my uncle taught us help side defense. You get to Michigan State, they like Izzo hammers away help side defense. Now, you change a few principles here and there, you know what I'm saying? And like, I can't really remember Michigan State principle, but like the NBA is a no middle stance, right? Like theirs could be different because the rotations are different. You don't have defensive threes, but regardless, I thought for me, I'm like, oh, I understand these things because I've been coached so well. Now, when I look back on it or as I continue my career, I figured out, no, I definitely been coached well. But I'd say like it really in my second year, it started clicking for me once I started getting a few more minutes. I'm like, oh, these niggas dumb. Like, I'm sorry for using that word, but true. That was my exact I'm just giving you like, not that I'm just want to throw, but that was my literal, like that was literally what I thought. Like, damn, they dumb. And as I started to learn more and more about the NBA game, it became really glaringly noticeable that guys just don't understand basketball. That's and real. It's mind-boggling to me.
You might get some coaches too that don't understand either.
Yo!
So they're like, why you cursing out your coach? Because he don't know shit.
He doesn't know what he's talking about. Like,
why do you play baseball?
You literally run into all it. I'm like, wait, that makes absolutely no sense. Like, what are you talking about? And opposing coaches that you're coaching against, you see stuff there, and I'm like, that makes no sense. The amount of people in the NBA that don't know basketball is baffling to me. Whether it's players, whether it's coaches, officials, like the amount of people in the NBA that does not understand the game of basketball is absolutely baffling.
Bro, like I'm telling you, we done went into games versus y'all a couple of times and be like, there's no way this is the game plan versus a Golden State. There's no way. Like, Draymond, how many times you just stole that loop pass, the flare loop pass over the top?
Flare loop, I'm going the other way with that every time. Like, chess action, I'm getting that. Damn. It's so far. You're going to throw that pass from way over there. I'm this bottom man. I'm going the other way with that.
Knowing we not giving it to the big man either. like, excuse me, bro.
It's never going to the big man. That's not a part of the offense. I don't know, man. I don't understand that.
But now you're in a position right now where you're able, like Dre said, you're able to do your own podcast, be able to be in media. And we spoke right now, the game needs gatekeepers. And you're in a position to really be a gatekeeper and to express yourself and take all your talent and knowledge and abilities and really be able to speak to the masses and somewhat call out, be great at what you did with the players, call out bullshit when you see it. So how do you feel about that? Is that something you really want to do with all your
define gatekeeper? Like that's one of the things that we touch on all the time. Like every entity, job sector needs gatekeepers so we can regulate to make sure this thing don't go too far away from the essence of it because it can get too watered down.
100%, and that's how I view it. Like with the media space and doing all these things in the space with basketball, I do view it as like when I'm taking on these roles and I'm on TNT and the way I view that is, and again, people may think I'm out of my mind, but the way I view me going to do this job is saving the industry. That's how I view it, because I think it's a dying industry. I think when you look at media as a whole, it's a dying industry because of guys like y'all two, guys like myself that, like, number one, we're doing things on our own now, and you need those people less and less to tell your story. Now, where I think they can stop themselves from dying is do the job the way the job should be done and stop chasing bullshit controversy. And that's the issue that I have with media. And one thing, and the thing that I've learned the most since getting into the business is that it's a very simple thing that I learned. It actually don't have to be done that way. And I think it's extremely lazy that people go about it that way. And I don't need to name call or single people out. You know who you are. I think it is very lazy that people go about the job that way and chasing controversy and talking about this guy and talking about that guy. The game of basketball is such a beautiful game. And it's such a detailed game that it's always something to talk about in this game that's very interesting to people if you understand the game. The problem we have is people don't understand the game and they're talking about the game. And so, you know, some of these employers need to be held accountable too. Stop putting people on here that can stir up the most controversy, and let's get back to teaching this beautiful game of basketball that we love.
And we talked to Chris Herron, who wrote the book Blood in the Garden, and we were talking about gatekeepers, and we're like, hey, you're one of the best at what you do. And Evans, I'll let you say the famous Bobby Knight line of what journalism is.
He said journalism is a step above prostitution.
Which is a bar, considering what you just said, Draymond, right?
He said a bar for real.
Don't mess with us. He said it. So
that's a bar.
He was like, I personally don't think that we should vote for awards because it's almost like you have to orchestrate these relationships to get a reward instead of letting your game do the talking. So it's like, how many Defensive Player of the Year awards do you think you missed out on because somebody mad at you because you're speaking for them? Or have you heard that before? Like, well, you players are taking all the journalist jobs. Why are you taking the journalist jobs?
Absolutely. You know what I mean? I know they're mad at me right now to this day. But I've definitely for sure lost too, simply because I just wasn't the nicer guy. Like, and
who what was those years? What years were those?
2016.
You definitely should have got it. We 73-9.
Who won that? Kawhi?
Kawhi won. And by the way, Kawhi is a hell of a defender. I'm not taking anything away from Kawhi.
Different.
But then also, like, Kawhi beat me playing like 58 games or 57 games or something like that. And it's like, it's one thing if I didn't have a great defensive year. Yeah. Then that would make sense. But I had an incredible defensive year and I played 75, 76 games. Like, it didn't make sense to me. And so that's, you probably seen, like, I kind of eased up off of it a little bit lately, but I kept saying, like, oh, I'm still the Defensive Player of the Year because no one has solidified themselves since I did get hurt. I'm still the Defensive Player of the Year. If it was a year like this year where no one solidified himself and he beat me, hey, man, kudos. I got nothing to say about it. But a year where I really solidified myself and I did all this work and I still lose to games, like, that's why it doesn't make sense to me. And when you say we shouldn't vote on awards, I agree. It doesn't make sense to me because if like, what is the game threshold that you have to play in order to win? Mm-hmm. Like, who decides that? And if it's been one playing 52 games, then what's the difference in playing 48 games? You know, like, who decides that threshold? So I feel where you're coming from on that.
Well, that takes me to, like, kind of like my last actual basketball question. You know, we're talking about, you know, the brains and the true essence of the game. Who was that guy? Because I never asked you this question. This was crazy. Who was that guy that you not necessarily modeled your game after, but you were like, I'm going to study this guy and I'm going to take something from this guy? Or was there multiple guys? Like, where were you getting, like, your basketball knowledge from in terms of, like, who you were watching when you were younger?
It was multiple guys, but I'm gonna tell you the guys that I used to watch to really help me understand the game. And I had to watch multiple different guys. Number one, I didn't know what position I would play. And number two, I felt like I needed to be a mixture of all of these different guys because people were so against tweeners and being a tweener was a death sentence. So I always felt like I had to study multiple guys. But I used to study guys like Chuck Hayes, because of his size and playing the big man.
Very underrated player. He was good.
Extremely underrated. One of the best post-up defenders I've ever seen. And also one of the better screeners I've ever seen. And, so when I say I used to watch Chuck Hayes, I think I'm a pretty good post-up defender. I think I'm the greatest screener ever. And so but I watched guys like him a lot. I used to watch guys like Kurt Thomas, how Kurt Thomas would guard the post, how Kurt Thomas would screen. And watching guys like that, I used to also watch Steve Nash and how he would manipulate the game. I think there was some years in the NBA where Steve Nash was manipulating the game better than anyone else in the game. And you're talking, he's in the league with the likes of Kobe Bryant, LeBron James. These are masterminds when you're talking the game of basketball. And he manipulates the game better than any of these guys, to me, that was incredible. Steve Nash, a 6'2" white dude, not super fast, can't jump over a sheet of paper. And he's manipulating these guys like this. That's pure brain. That was one of the most impressive things to me. I used to watch Steve Nash a lot just to try to pick that up. Watching Kobe and different things that they would do, how doing something to manipulate this guy over there, and how, to me, it never seemed like they was watching their defender. And, but he'd be watching the next defender. Now, that doesn't come into play offensively for me, right? But it definitely comes into play defensively for me, because I'm always thinking, in my mind, the guy who has the ball is watching me, and that helps me anticipate what my move after that should be. You know what I'm saying? And so just watching different guys like that. I used to watch Melo a lot, how Melo's footwork and how he took advantage of angles and stuff. Again, his footwork and his angles and stuff, it doesn't really come into play for me offensively. But if I can apply that stuff defensively and the angles that, he was the best at getting the angles to me. And if I can watch him and how he's trying to get the angles, then I can learn how to take those angles away. And so I think it was a mixture of just watching a bunch of different guys and trying to put all of that together in one.
I told somebody, if you can guard Carmelo Anthony, you can guard anybody in the league. And people always say, who's the hardest guard? I'd be like, Melo. They'd be like, what? I'm like, listen, man, this dude was fast, fat, and can shoot. There's nothing you can do.
Light feet, jab working. I remember one time, Dre, he scored 12, no offense, he scored 12 straight on you, and the ball was probably in his hand for 1.2. So it was the quickest.
And I was there.
And I'm like, damn, he doing my OG in.
And I was there.
But it didn't, you know what I mean? But it didn't matter. It was just straight talent. I'm like, if you can score on Iguodala, you cold. You know what I mean? Because it definitely is an easy go. But
hey, check this though. With Melo, one of the things that impressed me most about Melo, and I don't know if this was something he was just pissed off that Melo, I actually told Jonathan Kuminga, I said, you need to start doing this, because he came to me a few games ago and he was like, yo, was that not a foul? I said, yeah, it was a foul. Get the ball again and go do that same exact move and go more into his body this time. Yep. And I learned that watching Melo. Melo would get the ball. He actually did it against me at the guard. He got the ball, made a crazy move. I fouled the shit out of him. They didn't call it. He said to the referee, what the fuck? Call the foul. We go back down the court. We come back down. The very next play, he got the ball in the same exact, he went to the same exact spot, got the ball, did the same exact move and went into me harder. Referee called the foul, right? I couldn't believe I've seen Melo get the ball 3 or 4 possessions in a row and do the same exact move and put the onus on the referee to call a foul. And it was mind-boggling to me, that this dude is going to do the same exact move until he gets that call. I tell him, Kuminga, he need to do that.
True story.
That kid get fouled like nobody's tomorrow.
Yeah, he's too physical. He's physically gifted.
AT, he the strongest 19-year-old I ever seen. It make me doubt he's 19.
No, I believe
it's unreal. It's unreal, man.
What he dunks is unbelievable, bro. Physically, he looks like a man out there, and this is the NBA.
Yeah,
that's why like people say what they want about Zion. It's like, bro, you can't guard Zion regardless. Bro. If he's healthy, it don't matter because he's physically a man, and he's a lot to handle.
He is. Both of those guys are. But I mean, you look at some of the things Zion and what he did in the year he's played or a year and a half, whatever it was, is incredible. But I look at some of these games Kuminga's having, and it's like some of the stuff this kid is doing. Like he don't know how to play basketball, bro. Like he has no idea how to play basketball, and like some of the things that he's doing on the floor, it's like to be that physically dominating and imposing is absolutely insane to me.
Yeah.
Like he comes to me. Sorry, Evan. He comes to me sometimes at halftime. We're like, I only got 2 points and we losing. How can I help the team get better? I'd be like, listen, when you realize it ain't about how many points you score, that you can affect the game in a totally different type of way because you are who you are and you look the way you look, that's when you're going to have 20 with your eyes closed. Because it's not about getting a bucket. Like if you just run the floor as hard as you can, you're the fastest guy on the floor. You just don't know it yet because you're just trying to catch your breath. But it's a simple thing as try to get tired. You get to the second win, you can play for 2 hours straight. But guys don't want to take themselves to that edge, and that's what's holding them back. It's very, very, very finite in terms of like the difference between a superstar and an NBA player. Like I gave my son so many buckets yesterday. He was like, you don't miss. I'm like, bro, I'm in the NBA. Like my team don't need me to do that, bro. But we keep winning, so I'm gonna keep doing what's gonna help us win. Like I'm gonna destroy you. That's what people on the street don't realize that. I'm like, bro, like you're not gonna score on me.
Facts, bro. I tell people all the time, they hit me like, I'll shoot you. Like, bro, I would take every penny you got in your life savings plus every amount of every penny you want to go into debt. Let's shoot for something. And people don't understand how good you have to be at something to be in the NBA. It's absolutely insane, bro. Like, it's crazy.
Well, switching gears, you're talking about every penny you'll take this and gambling. Not gambling per se, but you're betting on yourself and saying you want to be a billionaire before 40. Let's talk about it.
I see the path.
Yeah.
I see the path.
Like
it's crazy.
That.
It's crazy, bro. Because when I said that, again, like I really believe that. And I remember people like he out of his mind. Like, what is he talking about? He's going to be a billionaire by 40. Like, but I truly believed that when I said it. And now I'm at a space in my life now where I see the path to being a billionaire by 40. Like, I totally understand it. Like, people come at me all the time about having, doing TNT and like having my own podcast and like doing all the stuff that I'm doing in the media space. I catch a lot of flack about it. But the reality is number one, I actually love doing it, which is why I've like really dedicated myself to it. Like, if you want me to be honest with you, I dedicate myself just as much to that as I do basketball now.
As you should.
And I still give the same dedication to basketball that I gave to basketball when I was 20 years old. Mm-hmm. And now with the media stuff, I get that same dedication to the media stuff. And the reality is, I'll be 100% honest with you. I think if I do it right and, I continue to grow and get better, I think when it's all said and done, I can make 5, 6, 7, 8 times the amount of money I make playing basketball and media. And so I see the path.
What I say before we got on? What I say before we got on, Evan? Before Draymond was 23 minutes late. What I say about this media? Like, tell them what I said.
I think I forgot.
No, I'm saying like we talking about the media. I'm like, yo.
You said tell what I said. I forgot.
No, I'm saying like I'm talking about in terms of media. I'm like, yeah, like this dude's going to take over the media space. Like he's going to make more money in the media than he did from basketball. And Ethan's one of our, he's he's like one of the producers, co-producers. And he was like, he can do it for 20 years. And he can lead that whenever he wants. So like, I'm just love hearing you say that about yourself. But, how do you think it? What do you think it does for your brand as well? Because I don't think people understand what the media can do for you as a brand. It can raise your awareness as a brand, and it keeps you in that space where you can go into any door.
100%. I think like there are some natural progressions. Like I'm executive producing this TV series with Gotham Chopra, and it's called Sessions. Like, and moving into the TV space, like that's a natural progression, you know, from going from the media space into like executive producing and all these different things. And so I'm like, I have a ton, and then obviously throwing bones, like I have a ton of things that I'm working on in that space and just naturally trying to get to it. But I think like you're 100% right. Like me doing this media stuff, I feel like it's taking my brand to an entirely different level. And it's also, I think it's amplified my voice. Like today I was just, like before I flew down here, see, what Andre didn't tell y'all is I had to fly DJ down to LA. And that's why I was late and I got caught in traffic after we landed. But before I flew down here, I saw on ESPN, I was scrolling across, Draymond Green says Devin Booker's the MVP. That is the headline of the topic they're about to talk about. And Kendrick Perkins, the bozo Kendrick Perkins, starts off his speech by saying, well, what Draymond Green say, it ain't Bible. Y'all got to stop acting like what he says Bible. Thanks, bozo, for letting me know that it is, because that's how you feel. And you wouldn't have felt like that if it wasn't. And my words mean way more than yours, Playboy. And he upset about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so the bozo comes out with what Draymond say ain't Bible. But the reality, I said all of that to say, like, I feel like my brand doing the media stuff has gone to an entirely different level. And I don't take that for granted, because I also feel like it's raised like the pecking order of my voice in the NBA. Yeah. Now, in saying that, I also feel like way more responsibility to not to say the right thing, because the right thing for me to say is what I think and what I believe. And I don't give a damn what people think is the right thing. But in the same token, I feel way more responsibility to also speak for others. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. So
that's kind of where you're about to answer it, but I got to ask it. You know, has there ever been a time where you felt like your outspokenness, if you had to go back and do it again, you would do it again? Not calling it a regret, because it's all it is learning. Experience is learning. But has it ever like been a time you were like, damn, I was wrong? You know, like, have there been those times? And if there are, like, are there? Evan, if you want to chime in on that.
Now, I always, because, you know, Draymond, like, you and I have known each other for forever. So I've seen you since you're 20. So I comprehend everything. I always wonder, it got blown up and it was always it was a big storyline. Do you ever regret what you said to Paul Pierce?
Hell no.
No.
Absolutely.
Let me jump in on that. This. I want to talk to you personally about this, Draymond. You and I have never had a conversation about this, right? So I consider you a gatekeeper. Everything we've talked about thus far in our conversation, you're a gatekeeper, right? Your opinion matters because it's a valuable opinion, because you've proven you can do it. You've done everything to let us know either you're an expert at it or you've experienced it at that level. Yeah. So you can speak on it. That's where the gatekeeper at. Not either you've done it to that level or you're an expert in terms of studying it. So you're a gatekeeper. Now, I don't mind gatekeepers speaking on things like that. And y'all had y'all think during the game. Mm-hmm. And that's a part of who you are. I'm fine with that. My only issue is if you're not a gatekeeper, or if you're not on Paul Pierce's level, you can't say his name, because some people don't know how good Paul Pierce was. Yeah. Paul Pierce was one of my toughest guards, and you know how good Paul was. But at the same time, you know, we had our thing with the Clippers for that period of time, and they had to be set down. So I had no issue with that.
Well, you're 100% right. And, you know, our thing with the Clippers at that time, everybody's saying, oh, the Clippers are next up and they're this and they're that. And Doc had just said, oh, they won a championship. It was luck. And, like, you know, all of these things are transpiring at the same time.
Yep. Nobody talked about that.
I want to know. That's you know what I mean? Yeah.
And at that time, I'm still really trying to make my name. I'm still really trying to become Draymond Green. And Blake Griffin at that time was like, the
Blake
power
was that
forward.
dude.
You know, he was the guy.
He was like 24, 8, and 5.
Absolutely. And so when we're playing, anytime we're playing against them, number one, all I see and hear is Blake Griffin this, Blake Griffin that. Every time I go on the floor and when we play against them, I'm trying to bully him. Like I'm trying to bully him and take him out of his game. Like, period. Straight bully him. And so there's kind of this little thing brewing, and since then, like, we've seen each other off the court, we've chopped it up.
It ain't
Great
the same
dude,
no more.
Cool dude.
It ain't the same no more though. If you're keeping it a buck, like sometimes sometimes you just got to say, "Oh, I put that kid to bed." It is what it is.
Absolutely, and like,
right, yeah,
I don't know. You can go look at the matchups. I used to fuck him up in all those matchups. Like I made
you into some careers. I'm just gonna keep it 100.
I chopped some people out the way.
Yeah.
Destroying him. And I had to do that because that was like this big thing. And so when Paul Pierce came and he's like, what made me say that is he's sitting there and he's like, go at him, BG. Go at him. He too little. He too little, BG. And I hate nothing more than people saying I'm too little. Like, stop that dumb, like, too little. Like, that's ridiculous. And you ain't been here, bro. You ain't been seeing how I've been killing Buddy. Don't come over here talking about he too little. And so he started saying it, and I'm like, I just keep looking at the bench, and I'm fuming. Like, and so what really set me over the top is Blake did a step back shot fake, and I jumped for the shot fake. Like, why am I jumping for him? At that, Blake shoot now. At that time, Blake couldn't throw the ball in the ocean, and I jumped for the shot fake and jump into him. I'm like, what am I doing? I just jumped for the shot fake because he's sitting over here talking about I'm too small, and I wanted to smack that shit and start talking to him. And so now I'm fuming. I'm like, you just got me to get a foul. Like, shut up. And he kept talking. So finally, I'm like, bro, shut up. Like, you're not like that, bro. Like, you chasing this first. You're not like that. And honestly, it just came off the top of the dome. Like, but the reality is I at some point or another throughout the course of that season, I did see him like chasing the farewell tour, and I thought to myself, like, why is he doing that? Like, bro, you not Kobe. Like, and so it came off the top of the dome to say that there, but it had crossed my mind before that he shouldn't be doing the farewell tour. Now, in saying that, Paul Pierce was an incredible player. Great player. Not Kobe. Kobe get farewell toward Dwayne Wade. He ain't those guys. And he made a huge mistake going on ESPN comparing himself to Dwayne Wade, looking like an absolute bozo. I think if there's one thing that I regret, and I can't necessarily say I regret, like I don't regret saying what I said. And so this isn't say a regret more so than like I just feel a little bad about it. And that's like a lot of people be speaking about Paul Pierce and think of Paul Pierce and they think about that moment because it ended up becoming such a much bigger moment for TV than I assumed. Like, or I number one, I didn't think the microphone would catch me. And it ends up becoming a much bigger moment than what it truly was. But the thing that bothers me is like Paul Pierce was an incredible player, Hall of Famer. Like we already spoke about how good Paul Pierce was. And like you said, just people out in the streets that don't do this, that don't got no accolades, that don't know how hard it is, like salting his name and salting his career as if he didn't have a great career and wasn't a great player. And so the fact that I sometimes think like I may have like added to that and people doing that bothers me. But it don't bother me saying what I said to him because I believe that. I still to this day believe that. And I think, God rest Kobe's soul. I still think about that often. Yeah. I think Kobe passing away even like showed that even more. We saw the reaction of the world, not of Los Angeles, not of America. We saw the reaction of the world when Kobe passed away. And so what I was simply saying, like that's a different level, bro. You're not there. Like, don't do that. But I don't regret it. It's just people should stop doing that.
I feel you. And then I think his thing with LeBron goes into play as well. Like, for
sure,
he has this thing with LeBron that I don't think is cool because I would consider him a gatekeeper as well. and kind of that thing or whatever that thing is. I don't know. I won't speak too further on it. That plays a role into it. But speaking of LeBron, as your teammate, I wonder, like, does Draymond know who he is too? When you say, if LeBron's breaking the record scoring title, I want to go see it.
Well,
so I'm like, all right, but here's my angle. I'm your teammate, and you Draymond Green. You just said it earlier. Like, I'm trying to become Draymond Green. I'm about to go end these guys' careers. Like, I'm chopping down wood. Like, we always joke, chop wood, carry water. Like, we joke about Kent Bazemore. But you somebody that people, if Draymond gonna break a record, I might go see Draymond. So now I'm like, and we got other guys on the team too. So I'm like, hold on now. I don't like that answer because you are who you are too. You know what I'm saying? And that whole the media. I hate when they try to pit like Steph and LeBron against each other that whole time. Like, there was just two great teams just keep meeting up. So it was bothering me. But like, kind of walk me through like how you feel in terms of my take on it. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. You know what's crazy is when I said that, I didn't think nothing of it. Nobody, no teammates said anything about it. Nobody from the organization said anything about it. And so I didn't think much of it until maybe like a week ago. Bob called me and Bob was like, so I'll tell you, it was the day of the Memphis game in Memphis. I was sitting in my hotel room in Memphis, and Bob called me, and we were talking about a bunch of different things. And before the conversation ended, Bob said, "So you have to help me understand, like, because I have to ask the questions." He's like, "No one else is going to ask you the questions, so I have to ask, like, what are you thinking when you say something like that? Is it A, you just don't give a fuck? Is it B, you're like you really are going to go and do that, or it was like C and D, like you're saying that because you know there's no repercussions and saying anything these days, like as far as basketball goes." And I'm like, well, Bob, number one, let me rewind a little bit. Number one, I personally think breaking the scoring record, when's the last time it happened? When did Kareem do that?
Correct.
And so that may never be done in my lifetime again. To see someone do that is incredible. As a basketball fan, as a sports fan, like, that is an event you want to be at. It's LeBron. It's someone breaking the NBA scoring record that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has held for probably 40 years or 30 years or whatever it's been. Like, there's a chance that won't be done again in my lifetime. So that's an event you want to be at. That's number one. Number two, like I told Bob, if people are dumb enough to think I'm going to go watch LeBron do something to feed his family and miss doing something that feeds my family, if people are dumb enough to think that, that's not my issue. Like, it's not my issue to help them better understand how stupid they sound if they think, thank you, my love. Hazel just came and set up a nice ring light for me.
That boy learning. That boy trained. I am too. So I am too.
You better be. You better be. But it's like, if people are that dumb to think that I am going to leave my team, my job, and miss a game to go watch somebody else play with their team, do their job, and play in the game. If people are that dumb, then so be it. Like, that's not my issue to correct. And that's kind of how I viewed it. Now, to go a little deeper, and I don't know if y'all want me to go this deep, but
do you think? Pause.
It baffles me. Jesus Christ.
Oh,
that was bad.
The whole thing was crazy.
Golly, that was bad. Wow.
You said it baffles you.
It baffles me that we as athletes still operate like slaves. And what do I mean when I say that? Well, people get mad at me daily about my support for LeBron. let me tell them right here, my support for LeBron will not stop. So you get mad all you want. That's my brother. The things that he showed me and taught me. See, and I'm going to show love and support him. Like, period. 100%. It baffles me because, and why I say athletes still act like slaves is owners have lunch together. Owners have dinner together. Owners sit at halftime together and have drinks. Owners invest together. They win money, like they win these bets. And when I say bets, I mean investments. You're making a bet. Right. They win these bets together. You know, like they do all of these things together. The moment we show support, the moment we show love for a guy, for a guy in our same field, why are you doing that? You shouldn't be talking about him. He's your opponent, this, that, and the other. And we are dumb enough as athletes to think it's actually supposed to be that way. And my thing to all of these people that say, you shouldn't talk about LeBron like that, or, you know, y'all battled in the playoffs, or this, that, and the other, and this, that, and the other. I'm not your slave. I'm going to support who I want to support. I am going to support these other black men that do the same thing as I do. I don't care what you think. So stop thinking I'm going to operate under your slave mentality that you want me to stay beneath. I'm not operating under your slave umbrella anymore. I'm going to support who I want to support, whether that's another basketball player, whether that's a rapper, or whether that's another media personality. If you say, oh, well, you shouldn't support him, y'all in this. See, but they don't say I shouldn't support Stephen A. Right. They don't say, you know, I shouldn't support Brian Windhurst. You know, and I do the same job as them too, but I shouldn't support LeBron James because they watch us run up and down the court and think we still their slaves. I'm not your slave. I'm going to support who I want to support. And so when I speak up about LeBron James, you damn right I'm gonna speak up and I'm gonna support LeBron James. You damn right I'm gonna support Carmelo Anthony. You damn right I'm gonna support Steph Curry. That's a fact. That's what I'm gonna do. Simply because I am not your slave. I'm going to support that black man and all the great things that he's done, incredible things he's done for us as a black community and as a black culture. I'm going to support that. And that's just how I view it.
And I agree. I think I was just speaking. Evan and I did a segment on, I think, the gambling, and we would talk about Calvin Ridley. And I prefaced it by saying, listen, on this show, you won't find me spilling one bad word or bringing down a man that looks like me or came from the same community I come from. So we are 100% aligned. And I can't wait till I retire so I can show love to guys. Because for me, I think you're like, you know, you're there already where you can separate that line. But, you know, I'm getting old now. When you're getting old, your mental got to be on point. So I'm like, yo, I am not giving this man no love in my brain space because I got to compete. But when I get done playing, like, LeBron will get all the love. But I even did the thing with Chris Hayes, and that still bothers me how that doesn't get out. That you know, Chris Hayes did an article on the block with LeBron, and I spoke on it. I was like, bro, when he blocked the shot, it was the loudest boom I ever heard. I was like, damn, like I got shook. I'm like, bro, that was incredible. And I always was like, bro, that was one of the best things I ever experienced. But it's always like it's like you're right, because they don't want to put out certain information that helps us big up one another. I do feel that way. And I never want to touch on this. And our producers, Carl's been asking me, we've been talking about, like, should I address the situation with Dylan Brooks and the Memphis Grizzlies? It's like, yo, I love them kids. Like, I actually reached out to them. And it's like, because you're talking about this slave mentality, I'm more upset with an individual who's in that front office who is orchestrating the circus show of this. It's almost like we have a beef with the Memphis Grizzlies. It's like, are y'all trying to use us to kind of take yourself to the next level? Because it's like
bulletin board material. It's
like, what are we doing right now? Like, I wasn't a part of your plans. Like, do you not know how the business of the NBA works? It's like a guy's on an expiring contract. you get an expiring contract that's still an asset. You can flip that to a contender, and that continue with senior draft picks, which is essentially what happened with the Miami Heat. I was never in the plans, but these kids will never get this information because it's this guy at the top who's close to the owner that got that job. We don't, Evan, you always say it. What basketball knowledge do you have historically? Like, where did you come from? You work with the owner at a law firm or something like that, right? But now you're the GM or the president of the team, and then now you're giving these kids bulletin boards, and now we're at odds, and it's looking like a circus show because one black man's down and another black man. It's like, kid, I love you to death. I don't care what happens. I hope you have all the success in the world. And it's like you feed into that, and then it's like, oh, they actually got you on a lesser contract. Like, you should be making more, kid. You're really good, but they signed you to that extension, and they kind of, where they'll trade you in a second. And that's what bothers me the most about how, like, they kind of play this puppet game with guys and how they can feel about each other. So I agree with you 100%, everything you just said, and I appreciate you for addressing it.
No, for sure. And that goes back into what I always say, dumb athletes. See, it bothers me. Only dumb athletes get mad at people that say athletes are dumb. Because if you're not a dumb athlete, athletes are dumb. And so, like, I just always keep a spade, and I'm not going to talk about Dylan Brooks from the standpoint of a black man, but I do think he looks, and I'm gonna say this to you because we're talking about it, and if he wants to talk, I would love to talk to any of them because I talked to Jaron and because I like to give young guys the game. I want guys to understand the business that we're in. And my thing with Dylan Brooks is, or any of the guys from the Grizzlies there, learn the business like you just said. You have to learn the business of basketball and stop thinking it's personal to you, my man. Like, this has absolutely nothing to do with you. Like, nothing to do with you, Dylan Brooks. It has nothing to do with I don't like you as a person. It has nothing to do with I don't want to play next to you or Ja. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. But you see guys in the NBA bickering all the time about moves that other guys make, leaving to go to this team, or, this guy went to this team, I'm mad at this guy, or we got beef now because he left this. I think it is the most insane thing in the world that we feel like when somebody leave a team, like they left us. Like, they ain't leave you. Like, Kevin Durant didn't leave me. Like, he left to go to State Warriors. Why am I be mad at him for deciding he wanted to do something else with his future? Yeah. I don't understand that. With Joel, with the Joel and Ben thing, and I asked Joel about it when he came on the podcast, and he clarified it for me. Because I was mad at Joel at first because I felt like he kept saying something to Ben or something about, like, talking about Ben early on in the process. And I'm like, Joel, why are you doing this? This has absolutely nothing to do with you. Let that man fight against that team if he wants to fight against that team. You don't have to fight for them. Like, they got enough power to fight for themselves. They don't need you to fight for them. And it's the same thing with, like, the Grizzlies. It's like, I don't understand why, like, this whole thing. And then also another thing, because, I am a listener, and, I just got to call a spade a spade. Dylan Brooks, the guy went to Miami and played in the NBA Finals that year. Y'all sent him back to the Warriors. You actually didn't. You sent him to Miami. He spent 2 years there and lived in South Beach and went to NBA Finals. So that's a little inaccurate as well.
I wish them guys nothing but the best. They can call me anytime. They all have my numbers. I got you got fined for saying something about Devin Booker and Phoenix Suns, so I won't say anything about Ja and the Memphis Grizzlies. Evan, do your thing. I'm done.
I should. Draymond did everything we need him to do. At one point, he definitely had to send you some wine or something, bro. No, seriously, bro. I told you once again before, and I told you I seen you face to face, but, obviously we've been playing since we were 20 and stuff. So, to see you transform into, who you are, is way bigger than basketball, and what you're saying and how you comprehend your position is amazing. You know what I mean? So
appreciate it.
Definitely glad to see you in the position you're in, and to be confident and speak out, and, always be unremorseful for who you are. Is definitely a blessing. And I think it's definitely going to help everybody surrounding. And I definitely appreciate you saying that you want to get to 1 billion, because your homie that changed the game told us that his number was 500 million, and it still baffles me. You know what I mean?
Why you bring that up?
He said 500 million. I'm like, where the rest of it at then? Like, you know what I mean? So definitely.
Hey, man. I appreciate it, bro. I thank you. You know, and watching. You know, for me, watching your journey in college was a big deal. Like, you know, as a freshman, you know, you were a good player, like, you know, but you were like a good player on a team with a bunch of other good players.
Yeah.
And then like how it just like changed and like triple doubles and like I'm the point guard and like that was one of the most impressive runs and journey, like to break your back and come back from that and be like, I'm still dogging y'all. And like, I don't think people really remember that journey. I lived it. And so I watched it up close and personal, bro. But like, I think, people don't, we get caught up in this, and you had a damn good NBA career. I mean, made a bunch of money too, but I'm sure people in watching your college career was like, oh, well, he's going to be even more than what you were in the NBA. And I think it's absolutely ridiculous that as basketball players, we allow people to make us feel like, you know, going to a Division I university like we all went to is like you made it. Like that is such a huge accomplishment, and we are conditioned like that's not making it, and people make us feel bad about like journeys, like or what happens after that. Like what you did in college, bro, that is legendary in itself. Like that's a whole other legendary part of your career, and because you played in the NBA, no one talks about it because then everybody talks about the NBA, bro. So I'm here to tell you, bro, I'm here to give you your flowers. What you did in college inspired me to take my next steps, to just watch you go from like when I came in school to like, oh man, he a good player. And then like what you became, bro, like incredible, dog. And amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's real love. That's real.
Absolutely.
You already know, man. It's always love, bro. So I really appreciate that. And once again, for turning us up with the podcast and showing I remember you were one of the first people to retweet our podcast and post it.
Yep.
Once again, I don't take for granted the support you give us and, you know, the steps you're taking in advance. So, and the doors you're opening. So.
No doubt. I appreciate that, brother.
Well, good folks, triple entendre, 3-point forwards. Great conversation. We gonna all see y'all at the top because we all going there. Draymond know what I'm doing. He knows that what I'm doing, and you know, me and Evan, we going together. Evan I'm trying to live life through Evan. He is my spirit animal. So we'll see y'all at the top. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate you again, Draymond.
Thanks, Draymond.
Absolutely. Thank y'all, my brother.